Welcome to episode 28 of the Feed Your Soul with Kim podcast. Today we talk about beating holiday stress. You know, it's the holiday time and there is stress all over the place. It's actually increased our stress because we're a stressed out society to begin with. We're going to look at the 7 causes of holiday stress and learn 7 stress busters that you can get into action right now. Let's get started. Welcome to the Feed Your Soul with Kim podcast. I'm Kim McLaughlin, your host, and I'm a licensed psychotherapist. I'm an inspirational coach, speaker, and best-selling author. I help people feed their soul by putting food in its proper place as nourishment and help them develop more functional ways to nurture themselves. Today, we're talking about a really important topic for this time of year, and we're talking about beating holiday stress. Holiday stress is showing up. We've talked about this before, that this is the holiday trifecta, the three months of October, November, December, where there's a lot of focus around eating. There's a lot of focus around overeating. There are foods out there that are foods that we don't normally eat. And it becomes a really kind of a landmine kind of time where we can feel overwhelmed and overloaded because there's lots of food around, and that's different than a lot of other times of year is the food's all around, but also there's a lot of stressors that are showing up this time of year that I think we have to really pay attention to and talk about to know that these stressors are here. What are they? And then what are we going to do about them? Because when we really put our heads in the sand and don't deal with them, for us people that overeat, we eat over those feelings. And when there's a lot of food around and we're eating over those feelings or those situations or those kind of uncomfortable spots, we're ending up really not taking care of ourselves in a functional way. And this is what I like to talk about a lot of times, is how really the food is the end result of all the things that happen before it. All the thoughts, all the feelings, all the behaviors show up earlier, and then we overeat, and then we feel bad about ourselves. So I really hope that you really listen with an open mind about what is stressing you out over this holiday period and what could you do differently to really enter into this holiday season de-stressed, eating in a way that fits for you, and being more in touch with what kind of that reason for the season is. Because when we're up and involved all in what's stressful, or kind of being caught up in what's stressful, we're not really paying attention to what we're really wanting to look at, which is, as far as I'm concerned, I want to feel joy, I want to feel peace, and I want to feel love over this season. And stress has nothing to do with that and has no part of it for me. So when we look at holiday stress, I think we have to think about what causes it, or I want you to consider what causes it, because the more we know what causes it, then we can start talking about, well, what are we going to do about it? And I was thinking about it, and I came up with 7 ideas about what causes holiday stress. The first thing that I think of when I think of holiday stress is I think about fatigue and being really tired, being overly tired, being involved in a lot of activities, being overloaded with those activities, overscheduled is another piece of that, as well as not necessarily sleeping as well, or when you're eating or drinking in a different way that it might interfere with how you sleep, and that creates a lot of fatigue, which creates holiday stress. The second cause of holiday stress is unrealistic expectations, thinking that the holidays are going to be perfect and that everybody's going to be nice to each other. I'm going to be able to do all these myriad of activities that I want to do. I'm going to have opportunities for parties that I want to go to. And sometimes they're really unrealistic expectations. And when you put into the idea of having a holiday, also having family obligations that you have to take care of, getting the kids to school. Now, when kids are out on holiday, what am I going to do with them? Um, Let me see, going to work. I still have to work over this time period. So what am I going to do to add in more things to do, more occasions to be a part of, or to make things look pretty in the house when I'm already overloaded by what I normally do? Another cause of holiday stress is over commercialization. You know, the Hallmark cards, or actually not the Hallmark cards, that Hallmark channel where they talk about all the things that holidays are supposed to be. Lots of presents, pretty trees, lots of things going on. And it's really a commercialized time that once again has gotten away from what is the reason for this whole holiday season. And that gets lost in that commercialization. Another huge cause of holiday stress is financial stress. And that is that overloading the credit card, or spending money that we don't have, and feeling that we have to engage in buying a lot when we don't have enough money. And it's really become a really big problem. I know a lot of people will overspend over the holidays and max out their credit card, and then come January have to pay all that down. And so they spend the rest of the year paying down the credit card and paying off all the interest, the astronomical interest that's on that credit card. And all it is for a bunch of things that sometimes get to gather dust. I know with us, with our daughter, that sometimes we overbuy, and the things that we overbuy are things that she just doesn't pay a lot of attention to. And that actually feels stressful to me, because when I spend money on it, you better use it. And so I have to reimagine our finances around the holidays so that I don't feel that stress myself. Another cause of holiday stress is family and friends' expectations, what other people expect of you and what you expect of other people, because there's a lot of expectations that they have that really don't work well for us and are not necessarily what we want to do. There's also the expectations of what we're going to do, and who are we going to do it with? What activities are we going to do? Who are we going to spend a certain holiday with? And should we spend it with this person or not with this person? I talk to people a lot where they talk about certain family members they don't want to spend time with, but what do you do when they show up or are going to be at some event? And how do you manage the expectation of should you show up or shouldn't you show up? That creates a heck of a lot of holiday stress. Lastly, another cause of a holiday stress is emotions, that there might already be emotions going on for you that are tough, and they can really be exacerbated over this holiday period. Emotions like sadness, depression, anxiety can be can get worse over this period, especially if you have things like going on, like a potential divorce, or you're going through divorce, or somebody has died. Those feelings make it really tough. You might be unemployed or just been laid off from your work. That also causes stress to begin with, but then it increases over this holiday period because there are certain expectations, or you think there are expectations about what you should do. And it's harder to do that when you already have these emotions going on. I think what we have to do is notice that holiday stress, but also notice the triggers of what of when they're showing up. And I think what happens is that when we have overeating, I think you can say that when the stress shows up in overeating, you're already stressed. And so the overeating can be an opportunity to notice that, oh, I'm feeling stressed. So when you're feeling like you want to overeat, when you're feeling frustrated with your body or your weight, that can be a time to look at, well, am I in a lot of stress over this holiday? And what can I do as a kind of a stress buster to end that? And that can help with overeating. If you're feeling holiday stress, maybe if you approach the areas that I've just talked about differently, you'll have a different result. right? So if you have different thoughts, different feelings, different behaviors, you're going to have a different result. And I think we can all agree that we don't want to have holiday stress. It's just not valuable, but I think a lot of times we think it naturally comes with the season, and so we just have to put up with it. And we have to put up with being stressed. And I'm here to tell you that that's just not true. One way I like to measure stress is by looking at it on a 1 to 10 scale. 1 being not stressed at all, 10 being incredibly stressed. And for me, when I get into the 7, 8, 9, 10 range of stress, I've really gotten too stressed and I need to do something about it. I need to do a stress buster. I need to do something pretty quickly to get out of that stress. And actually what I like to do is notice the stress a lot earlier. If it's at a 4 or 5, if I'm feeling stressed, well then if I take care of it really early, it'll never end up being a 7, 8, 9, or 10. So I focus on keeping that stress really low. And I think these stress busters that I'm going to go over with you will help give you the opportunity to lessen the stress and have some real good doables as we end this podcast later on. Hi, everyone. This is Kim, and my book is out. Feed Your Soul, Nourish Your Life, a 6-step system to peace with food is live. I recommend you get it. It has all my 6 components of feeding your soul, as well as my own story. Pick it up now. You can find it on my website at feedyoursoulunlimited.com. Thanks. So here are some of the stress busters. First stress buster is take time for yourself. The holiday time can really be overwhelming, and it can get overwhelming pretty quickly. Remember, it's 3 months of holiday. So it can increase the anxiety that you might feel, and it might make you think that you need to make more plans and that you need to meet with others and have these obligations. What I think gets missed is that there needs to be time for yourself, and there needs to be time for what you need and what you want. And the holidays can be a great time to reconnect with you, with yourself, with what you really want. And that can then decrease any kind of stress. And I know it's difficult when we have the expectation of others, but as we're entering into more of the holiday season, consider what it is you need and want for yourself. I think that requires us setting aside time to breathe, to relax, to really take care of our well-being, to take care of ourselves in a really personal and meaningful way. And it might be that you might miss some opportunities to meet with others or to do things, but really focusing on taking time for yourself is super important. Another thing to do for stress busting is have a reasonable holiday expectation. So when the holidays come around, we often have these ideas of what we think we are supposed to do. And we think it's supposed to be perfect, and that truly is impossible. I know there's these picture perfect ideas about the holidays with family and friends, but holidays generally don't go as planned. You know, the turkey gets overcooked, people argue, there's different political opinions that are expressed, and then you often wonder why you came or why you were with these people. When we have more reasonable holiday expectations, we're really focusing on what's really going to happen and what can we really expect, and really more of go with the flow kind of opportunity, and just be realistic about what can happen, what you can do, and what you really can't do. Another stress buster is stick to your budget. This is the time where we overspend, where the cost of presents and food and outings and get-togethers, decorations can be really expensive. I know I already have a lot of holiday decorations, and every time I go in the store, I think about, oh, what more could I get? What more could I get? But we literally have boxes of holiday decorations, and I've been challenging myself to think about, well, what do I really want? What's really important to me? And even though the holiday decoration might not be really expensive, it's still more money that I'm spending. And do I really want to spend my money on that? What I know for sure is that I don't want to go in debt for the holidays. And what we do in our families, we look at who are we going to buy for and have an idea about how much we're going to spend, because we don't want to go into debt. We don't want to have overspending on our credit card. Whatever we spend in the holidays, we pay off. And that's been really important to me because I don't want to overspend and I don't want to go into debt. You've heard me say this quite a few times, and this might sound different than what you all are used to, but I think that it's really important to do that. I actually know people who save money throughout the year to then spend it at Christmas time. So then they really pay in cash. And I think that's a really interesting thing to do. I've never done it that way, but we do stick within a budget for this holiday time period. Another stress buster is avoiding toxic people this holiday. There are lots of opportunities to spend time with people that you just don't enjoy. And we tend to think that it's a requirement that we spend time with people. Often it can be a family of origin, people that we don't necessarily like, and we don't necessarily spend time with them at other times during the year. And we find them to be kind of triggering or kind of detrimental to our mental health. And they're really people that you're wanting to avoid. And I think this can be the time where you can limit your contact with them or say no, that you're not going to go to a certain event if somebody's there. That really, if that person makes you feel or leads you to feel stressed or anxious or overwhelmed, it's just not a good idea to be around them. And so limit your time with them. You're not required to spend time with anybody in particular over the holidays, and it's okay to ignore people if their negativity has a harmful effect on you. I want you to really consider this, that you don't have to spend time with people you don't want to spend time with. Given that we're talking about avoiding people who are toxic over the holidays, one way to reduce stress is to spend time with people that you really like. Be with your people, be with the ones that you enjoy. Um, so it becomes being with them in a way that really feels fulfilling. And it's not always family that you spend time with. I love the idea of family of choice. And who are the people that you really enjoy spending time with? Make time to see them. Those are the people that fill you up, and those are the people that make you feel good. And find a way to spend time with them in a way that's really meaningful and loving to yourself. Another stress buster is to lower your expectations. Look at what you really can do. What do you really have time for? I tend to overextend myself. When I was thinking about this podcast, I was thinking about all the times I've overextended myself in terms of baking is one of the things that I like to do. And I love to bake over the holidays. I tend to make a list of what I want to bake, but there's a lot of other activities going on. And so often the baking kind of comes at the end, and I'll spend a whole day baking. And what I found happens is I have too many things to do. I feel rushed. It starts as a really enjoyable experience and then ends up being really stressful for me because I take time away from my family to do the baking, and I end up having to pare back what I'm going to do. And what that's led me to think of this year is to be really more realistic and lower my expectations about what I can really get done. What can I get done and what can't I get done? For me, baking is enjoyable, but I only have so many hours to do it. So I'm going to pare it back this year and really put in my schedule what I really can get done and not expect any more than that. And that leads me to feel really much less stressed because I'm being honest about what I can and can't do. Just like we talked about spending time with people that you enjoy, the last stress buster is spend time in activities that you enjoy. I don't know about you, but I end up going places that I don't really want to go and doing activities that really aren't my thing to do. And I've I've really been thinking about what's mine and what do I want to do rather than feeling at the whim of what other people want to do. What I like to do is think about what activities do I want to do over the holiday and make sure to put them in the schedule. But in doing that, I also talk with my husband and daughter, my immediate family, and ask them what they want to do because I want to make sure that I'm not the only one having the activities that bring me joy that they have there. So what I found works best is that if we talk about what we each want to do, we put it in the schedule so everybody feels like they're being fulfilled and nobody feels like they're giving over what they want to somebody else. And that's really important, is that we each make sure we get what we want. And then that means when we look at what in our family, what each of us want to do, then that might mean we have to give up something else. But at least we're all being honest about what we want, and that becomes our priority. Everything else that we do becomes secondary to what each of us has on our list to do. This brings us a lot more joy, less stress, and our time gets managed in a more positive and productive manner. When we engage in these stress busters, we then are really doing things that fulfill us, that feed our soul and give us this kind of nurturing that's in ways other than with food. And that's what stress busting is all about. I want to encourage you, for your doable, is to pick one of these stress busters and do that. Or possibly you have another stress buster. If you do, I'd love to have you put it in the comments on our podcast page. What are you doing that is your commitment to ending stress? I know I just talked about 7 ideas. There are hundreds more. I know that. And I just went over a few that I thought would be easy for people to do. But think of one of the stress busters. Which one are you going to do? And get it done. Because if you want to go through this holiday season differently, you've got to do something differently. By doing something differently, you're going to have a different result, a different feeling, and that's what we're looking for. I really appreciate that you listened to this podcast, that you're here with us. Please take a moment to give us some stars, some star love on this podcast, but also give a review. This will really help let people know that this podcast's around, and talk about it with your friends. Let them know that the Feed Your Soul with Kim podcast has a lot of value and that they can get some really great inspiration over this holiday season. I look forward to talking with you more about feeding your soul next week. Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining us on the Feed Your Soul with Kim podcast. We come to you every Monday with fresh new ideas to help you end emotional eating and put food in its proper place as nourishment. Please be sure to subscribe to this podcast and review it and let us know what you think. Thank you for joining us.